Okay, now we're starting to get somewhere with these movies. What's up, you guys? It's Jonathan Carter, and today we are talking about Mission Impossible 3 in the third entry of the road to Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. If you don't know, I am running through the Mission Impossible movies weekly leading up to Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning this May. This is the third entry of the series. I'll link the playlist to the first and second Mission Impossible somewhere up here. And going into this, I have only seen 3 Mission Impossible movies, this one being one of them. So before doing this series, I've seen Mission Impossible 3, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, and the Mission Impossible Fallout. Kind of a weird watch order of the series, but it is nice to finally get into a movie that I had seen before as a kid growing up. So as we jump into this, please be sure to like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify if you like podcast versions of reviews. That being said, without further ado, let's get into the review. Okay, I don't think it's any secret here. Mission Impossible 3 is easily the strongest Mission Impossible movie out of these first 3, the original trilogy. So the gap between Mission Impossible 1 and Mission Impossible 2 was 4 years, and then the gap between making Mission Impossible 2 and making Mission Impossible 3 was 6 years. So a lot has changed in the making of movies and the style of action spy films. At the start of Mission Impossible 3, we find Tom Cruise is living that married life. His hair is now short again. Kind of disappointing, but the long hair wouldn't really work for where he's at in life right now. He has left the IMF, but of course, like any long-running series or movie, the main character is going to get dragged back into that life, into what he does so well. Mission Impossible 3 is the first movie directed by J.J. Abrams, and you definitely can see his type of, what he would be known for later on in his directing style, quick action sequences, a lot of lens flares, things like that, and gone in this movie are the crazy flips and everything from Mission Impossible 2, and we're kind of starting to bring back the thrills and tense scenes from the first Mission Impossible. So, just for reference, look at the opening of Mission Impossible 2. And now look at the opening of Mission Impossible 3.
Does that sound familiar? The rabbit's foot, where is it?
I gave it to you.
One more time. Mission Impossible 2. And the opening, Mission Impossible 3.
I promise you. I can figure out how to get whatever you
9!
Yeah, so this feels like almost a different franchise again. The gap between 1 and 2 films, the difference in them felt pretty jarring. This one also feels jarring coming off of the second one, but at least it's more in line with the first one, just obviously with a lot more action than the first one had. So you really are kind of, with Mission Impossible 3, you're getting the best blend of what made the first one work, what people loved about the original Mission Impossible, and then the crazy over-the-top action from the second one just kind of blended into a more seamless transition cohesiveness in a movie. I can't go much further into this review without talking about the late Philip Seymour Hoffman. He is probably, I would say, the second best villain out of the entire Mission Impossible series. He plays this villain in such an unnerving but restrained manner.
You have a wife, girlfriend. Do you know what I'm gonna do next? Whoever she is, I'm gonna find her and I'm gonna hurt her.
You're kind of waiting for him to act out and lash out like a villain does, and he kind of does that towards the end of the movie, but throughout the majority of the film, he comes off so calm, but so conniving and calculated, and it brings this breath of fresh air into this franchise. After this movie, kind of going into Ghost Protocol and then the rest of the movies in this franchise, are when Mission Impossible kind of morphs into this globe-trotting series that is known for big action sequences. And the first Mission Impossible kind of has that wire drop scene. Second one doesn't really have anything. The third one kind of starts to have that big action sequence moment. but it's still, you can definitely still feel like this franchise is kind of figuring out what it wants to be exactly. Like, we weren't really sure the way this movie ends. It kind of just feels like this series could end right here. Like, Tom Cruise is happily married, going on his honeymoon with his wife, leaving, all of that. Like, it could be a nice closing chapter for this, like, bit of an uneven trilogy. But retroactively, like, knowing where the franchise goes after this movie, it is very easy to see how this one kind of lines up that roadmap of what this series is going to become. But again, with this one, it feels like such a big change from the first two movies because Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt is in a much different place in life. He is working again with an entire different crew. So you have Luther, who's come back from the first and second movie, but I think that's really about it. So there's not much connective tissue between these first three movies. So like I said, makes for a really uneven first trilogy run of the Mission Impossible series. And honestly, when it comes down to it, great action sequences, amazing turn with the villain, Philip Seymour Hoffman. Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise is fantastic here. This is probably his best performance out of these Mission Impossible movies so far. But the biggest crime of the movie, it's just a tad boring. It leads up really, really well. Kind of dips in the second half and then picks up, has a nice finale there at the end. It just, like the rest of the series, like as a whole, feeling uneven. The movie itself also feels a little uneven. And like it's still not exactly clear what this series wants to be. So, the verdict, this is easily the best movie out of the first trilogy of Mission Impossible films. Tom Cruise is great as always. J.J. Abrams directs this one very, very well. You get great action scenes, amazing turn by Philip Seymour Hoffman as this very like calculated villain. It's just still really an uneven run of Mission Impossible movies, and there's not really much connecting these first three movies. Like it's calling it a trilogy is kind of nice, like being nice, because these movies don't really run together that well. So, all that being said, I'm going to give Mission Impossible 3 a 6.5 out of 10. If you've seen Mission Impossible 3, let me know your thoughts on the movie in the comments. Let me know your favorite Mission Impossible movie, which one you're looking forward to the most. Are you excited for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning? All that being said, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all on the next one.